Watching the season finale of the Weekday Report on RHN. Heading to the Tenement Museum to learn about the history of housing in this great city. That's right here, right now, on the season finale of the Weekday Report. Hello everyone, and welcome to the season finale of the Weekday Report. Today, we're here in the Tenement Museum on the Lower East Side near Delancey Street. And we're going to walk through the neighborhood today, learning about the changes that have occurred in this neighborhood from the time of the Tenements in the early 1900s and late 1800s to the present day, and see the differences that have been created in this beautiful neighborhood. So, without further ado, let's go. After taking the B from Atlantic Avenue to Grand Street Station, we head east on Broome Street, turn left onto Orchard, and once we see a stylish Art Deco tenement building, we're there.
Is an example of what comes next. Start backwards, I guess I should say. So over here, that red building from the Ideal Hosiery, you've got yourself a row house. That dates to about the 1800s. And it was built by a guy whose name you've probably heard. His name is John Jacob Astor. And Astor is one of the most wealthy men in all of New York City history.
You mean for whom Astor Place Street?
Absolutely. The guy whose name Astor Place is named after, for sure. He's incredibly wealthy. I think of him as one of New York's first real estate moguls. He's an immigrant from Germany, so he's not even born here in New York. His brother works in a musical instrument shop here in New York, and so when Astor arrives to America, literally all he brings with him are 7 flutes. And from those 7 flutes he sells in that store, his fortune comes as a result. Now this entire piece of land, this whole neighborhood we're in right now, was formerly owned by a guy named James Delancey. Prior to the American Revolution, Delancey was here. The main street of the neighborhood is still named for him. And he had a big, sprawling, lovely estate in this entire space. In fact, Orchard Street is named for the location of his orchards. So he had a lot going on over here. And he did one thing that was like his fatal flaw, and that was backing the English in the American Revolution. When that happened, whoops, right, made a bad choice. When that happened and their side lost the war, Delancey was afraid for his life. And so he fled the city. New York was the new country's capital. So a lot of activity was happening here in the city. And Delancey fled the city. His property was seized by patriots, one of whom was Astor. And Astor came here and said, I already have a big estate, I'm pretty wealthy, so why don't I just parcel it out and make it a neighborhood? That's exactly what he does. He builds lots of houses like that one that line the neighborhood. Grand Street over here actually was the first street in the Lower East Side that ran traffic both directions, which speaks to how much it was necessary for commerce and for things to be moving around down here that had to double the traffic that had been down here before. And it does also physically change the architecture. So not all the buildings around here are federal-style row houses. If you look down the block next to it, you can kind of see how they all began the same way. They'll have windows at the same exact height. The tan building and the green one even have that kind of beam across the front construction that looks the same. But if we take a walk just a few feet this way, and that blue building has a little bit different materials in play. The facade you see there, if you look at the side of the building, you can see it's just bricks. But the facade on the front, that's cast iron. And cast iron much better supports the weight of glass, which for a shop, you need big glass windows. You'll see buildings look like this one very, very often in Soho, a neighborhood that is much more shopping oriented than the Lower East Side is. Here you are at the Seward Park Housing Project. Now when I say housing project, what does that term bring to mind for you? Visually, what are the other words? What do you think? Section 8, subsidized. What are you going to say?
Well, probably really tall, gigantic.
Absolutely, they're huge, right? Look at this thing. Super tall.
They take up a lot of space, and they were actually founded by Lyndon B. Johnson after Kennedy. Actually, Kennedy was preventing him from building these projects because he knew it was going to be essentially urban blight. But once Kennedy was assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson got his way, and he built hundreds of them in places across the country. Some of them are in places like Ithaca and Texarkana. They look pretty out of place with the surrounding countries.
I bet they do, right? Here in New York, they also look a little out of place. It's like, look at this. It doesn't look like anything we've already talked about, right? We have a tenement, which we already talked about, is a little bit different from a housing project. And that's actually different from what we already have talked about, being Section 8 or being subsidized. Sometimes people think about crime or drugs in these kind of spaces too. But a housing project is just a group of buildings that are built and managed together as a unit that incorporate green space. So in the Seward Park project, there are 4. This is number 1. Down that way, there are 3 others that did not begin its life as the Angel Orensanz Foundation for the Arts, but that's what it is today. Can you tell what it used to be?
A church.
Church?
Church, which
Other
kind?
thoughts?
Possibly a synagogue.
Why do you think synagogue?
Well, that could be a tower.
Does that have a tower, like a bell tower?
The church still reminds me of like the synagogue style of church.
Kind of like a synagogue style, like one you've seen before.
Star of David.
Yes, I think he's right.
What do you see?
On a window up there.
Yeah.
Star of David.
So the Star of David in the upper window, so it did used to be a synagogue, home to the Anshe Chesed community.
By a tree.
But one of my favorite things about this building is that even though it was a synagogue and it was founded by Polish Jews, it does have this aesthetic of a church. And that's because in America, there are no rules about what a synagogue has to look like. But in Poland, there absolutely were. The Russian Empire, who was in control at the time, had huge ideas about what a synagogue should look like, what kind of jobs Jews should have, where they should be able to live. Huge, huge ideas about all those things. Here in America, no restrictions, no ideas. And so a lot of Jewish communities end up actually hiring Christian architects who build them Gothic churches.
Oh.
And so in every way but use, this is a church, but it's used as a synagogue. And it's built here in the early 1900s. When it is completed, it's used for about 50 or 60 years. The community lasts here for a very long time, but eventually they move away and the synagogue falls into disuse. And that's because largely Orthodox communities, they need a synagogue near where they live. This community begins to move to Brooklyn by about the mid-1900s, and so the synagogue falls into disuse. When Angel Orensanz arrives here to the building, I can show you what it used to look like. How did he find it? There it is. He found it like this. He was here in the 70s, and it wasn't looking great. And he decided this was going to be his space. So he came here and he made it into his studio. The artwork you see out front, the kind of columns of the carving, that's his work. And he needs a place that's like a synagogue. It's big, it's long, it's tall. But he also made it into an event space where people can have meetings and hold seminars to share art with people in this neighborhood. And people who have come here are pretty big deals. Maya Angelou spoke here, Salman Rushdie has spoken here, Spike Lee, the filmmaker, has been here. And so they have really shared their art and their talent with this community. And today, Angel also rents it out to lots of different groups of people. If anyone's in the market for a New York-based wedding, I would love to show you the inside of the building.
Oh, wow.
I think it's really a really beautiful space.
Great so.
Yeah.
We can't go inside unless the door's open, unless we're invited inside, because of all the events that are happening. Right here, built in '09, approved in '05, that's significant. In '07, the New York City Council in this neighborhood chose to update our zoning. The zoning laws, which dictate what can be built where, said that these buildings were too tall for small streets. So while a high-rise could be built on a growth corridor like Houston, they can no longer be built here on a street like Ludlow. So even though this building does border Houston, the address being on Ludlow means that it cannot be this tall. But it was approved before that law passed, and so it's fine, and it's here today. How do you feel about it blending in with the neighborhood?
Not really.
Again, not so much, right? A little bit tall, kind of brick, but not really. Modern brick, big windows, doesn't fit in particularly well. However, at the same time that was built, so was the hotel. They're part of the same development. Which of the two? The hotel. Right? They're drastically different looking. The hotel is made of red brick. It's almost as tall, but it's staggered backwards, so you don't notice it immediately. And that wrought iron overhang over the door. Now that overhang kind of mimics the fire escape idea, right? But at the same time, it would be totally at home in Chelsea, the meatpacking had to come here. And so this is new for us. This is a new phase of the Lower East Side. And I have no idea what's going to be next. I have no idea how long it will last. I have no idea if some new neighborhood will come along and be trendier. But I can tell you that the way the neighborhood looks is a direct reflection of what the people ask for, what the people want, what people need, and how they like to live. And it's a neighborhood that is constantly changing. So if I start landmarking everything, suddenly it's not going to be able to change anymore. It's going to all be the same. It'll get stagnant, and the thing that people came here looking for is going to be what they can't find here at all. And so I hope in the last 2 hours you've gotten a sense of this neighborhood's history, a sense of the challenges we're facing now, and a little bit more insight into how the neighborhood sprung up the way it is. And so as you walk throughout the New York City from the rest of your day, or life for some of us, you can think about how all these buildings came to be. You can learn how to read them a little bit more and figure out the stories that each different building you encounter is telling.
Well, after traveling through time on this walking journey, I learned about the history not only of the Lower East Side, but of the tenement buildings, and walked in the footsteps of the people who lived in them. The changes that have occurred in this vibrant neighborhood from the late 1890s to the present day have been astounding. And from the looks of all the development around here, there are many more changes to come in the future. Well, that's it for the Weekday Report. Don't worry, the series is not ending, but as for the season, it is. It's been a fun time hanging out with you all, going to these beautiful places, and hopefully you have learned something along the way. But don't worry, we'll be sure to see you again this fall. Now, reporting for the Weekday Report, I'm Neil Baptiste, and have a great summer. The Weekday Report will return with new editions this fall, only to RHN.